Hi, it's Ian from the Postal Hub Podcast.
And Marek from Last Mile Experts.
And we are the Last Mile Prophets. This is the last word on the last mile. This video is created thanks to Modern Expo, one of the key players in the world's parcel locker market. Modern Expo's product portfolio includes innovative solutions with refrigeration and freezing cells, Bluetooth locks, and even personal parcel lockers. Marek, just recently, Google announced that it's released some last mile tools, shall we say. It's launched, I'm going to have to look at my notes here, everybody, last mile fleet solution and cloud fleet routing. Thank you, America, because we can't say routing. New solutions for the last mile. Now, Marek, I know some people have been very excited about this news, and I'm a little bit more laid back about it all. Marek, first of all, I'll let you lead off with your enthusiasm, and I'll be the Eeyore that brings the gloom to the party.
Okay, so guys, I am excited, if you haven't noticed. In fact, I'm very excited. Not so much because of this itself, but the fact that Google is a sleeping giant. Everybody runs Google somewhere. I can see a huge opportunity if they were to get interested in the last mile space, for them to become a sort of consolidator of various last mile services and the touch point with the customer. Now that makes them very, very important. And that's why I'm so excited about it.
Well, I guess I saw this and thought, well, I don't know what it's like for you, Marek, but regularly I'll get messages from people saying, well, we've got a new platform. It's a software as a service, last mile platform where people can optimize their routes or they can plan their fleet stuff. And I get a little bit unexcited about it all because I'm always wondering, well, what's the amazing thing about what you've got? So, Marek, is your take here that it's not so much about anything amazing that this platform brings, it's about what else Google can bring to the party? Is that what you're saying?
Absolutely. Imagine, Ian, a scenario in which you don't need to have a DPD, a FedEx, a UPS, an Amazon, etc., app. You've got one interface with Google that does it all for you. People don't like multiple apps, and in that one interface, you can set the sort of information you require, the interactivity you want. Basically, you've got a one-stop shop for all your last mile needs. Now, that's pretty cool.
As it is, you can do that with some carriers, can't you? You can set up your Google, what's it called? The thing that listens to your conversations in the corner of your room. Google Echo?
No, that's Amazon Echo, but Google's got one. I can't. Google Assistant, isn't it? Google Assistant?
I don't know.
It's Google Assistant.
Message to Google's branding team. This guy doesn't know what it's called. I know it's Alexa's called. It's called Alexa. Anyway, that kind of thing, you can integrate. I think it's DHL. It might be, I want to say Hermes, but it's called Every now, isn't it? In the UK. But anyway, what I'm getting at here is that there is already that ability to sort of integrate some of it so you don't have to be always checking your app. I suppose if you said, Ian, you've got to get excited about this, how can you get excited about it? I'd say, well, already, what does Google like to do? It's got like stuff with data, and with the exception of its self-driving cars stuff and its drone operation, it generally doesn't have a lot of physical stuff, does it? So what would Google actually probably link up everything from mobile shopping through to delivery without owning anything, right? So becoming a bit like Amazon, but without having to own anything. Amazon has to ultimately have the stock and the warehouses and all of the other stuff. And interestingly enough, the other thing that Google does compete with Amazon in is cloud computing, isn't it?
And Ian, this is it. I always say that tech is a secret sauce, and you don't want to own anything. You want to own, actually, you do want to own one thing, the customer. And if Google can use this to own the customer or be the screen between the customer and all the other carriers and service providers, it puts them in a very, very sexy spot. So I know that you've got a bit of a sort of doubtful Thomas day today, in case anyone else hasn't noticed. But
you haven't picked up on the vibe, everybody. Yeah.
But honestly, let's see, in around about 5 years' time, not 10, but 5 years' time, if they develop this, you and I are going to have a follow-up VC. And let's see what you say then, Mr. Kerr.
Yeah, I've said with drones, I'll be happy to be proved wrong. It's not going to happen. But, I say it. With this, though, why I'm also a little bit sort of, let's see, is that we had this same conversation at least a year ago. I'll put a link up there. I never remember which corner to point at, everybody, to the video that we did when Google took an interest in, was it an Indian express company called Begins with D. Dunzo? Something like that.
You've got a better memory than me. I don't even remember that.
Yeah, I'm only half remembering as well, everybody. But what I'm getting at here is that we've talked about this before, and maybe there's something amazing going on in the background and that Google's keeping their cards close to their chest. But I feel like this is an opportunity that's been out there in the open, and Google has either chosen not to do it or has done it badly. And, not everything Google touches turns to gold. But as we said earlier, when it comes to things like data, Marek, is data what sets Amazon apart from other retailers? I mean, I suppose the answer is...
About it. One of the main reasons Amazon has been so successful, they're a data-driven company that basically took the last mile by storm. And the reality is, if one might assume that in the Western Hemisphere there ought to be an alternative, well, who is it? There's no one clear player that today would be the alternative in the Western Hemisphere. That's why I'm so excited about this, because if Google really got their act together, it seems that eBay has missed the boat and continues to miss the boat. Who else is there of that size, caliber, and scale? So I reckon that 5 years' time, we have our video cast, and you, Mr. Kerr, are going to be eating humble pie.
I just said I'm not going to be eating humble pie. I've covered my bases here, everybody. I'm not going to be eating humble pie. I won't. I do accept what you said, Marek, about the potential for data being integrated and creating what they call a vertical, or whatever the hell the correct term is. All I'm getting at here is that they've not taken that step yet. I mean, I remember seeing a presentation a few years ago talking about Google Shopping, and when you search for a product on Google, how now you see a lot of product recommendations. So already that technology has been there for a while, and we know that Google's got the mapping data, and it's got all kinds of company data as well. So if you've got your business listed online, it can pull all of that together. I also wonder, Marek, though, if there's not a sort of a question at the back of Google's collective mind about market dominance as well. And that's a little bit beyond the scope of talking about optimizing the last mile and things like that. But that the idea of market dominance is something that's being explored at the moment in some jurisdictions. So I don't know, that's just maybe just a little footnote there, Marek. We don't need to go into depth on. But in the minute or so that we've got left, Marek, is there anything else that you see coming out of this that could have implications, whether it's for carriers or for omnichannel e-commerce or anything like that? Not omnichannel e-commerce, omnichannel retail, I beg your pardon, or anything else?
I think, Ian, the truth is going to be, let's revisit this in about a year, because then we'll see, have they done something with it? Because there were other experiments. You mentioned that their acquisition, which I, to be honest, didn't remember, but I remember when they tried to do their ultra-fast delivery service in the US, which theoretically, because of all the mapping data they've got, should have worked pretty well, but flopped, as far as I remember. In fact, it did flop, full stop. So let's see what they do. If in a year's time we see that things have actually happened, then I think it's going to be very interesting. And if that's the case, then without getting into any details on the dominance thing, at the moment we have a significant risk that Amazon will become dominant. And this could be a very nice balancing tool.
Well, we talk about competition. One of the things we've talked about a few times has been how smaller businesses can somehow access data to be able to compete with the likes of Amazon. Could this perhaps be the door opening for smaller retailers that will never be able to have the volumes of an Amazon to be able to have data like an Amazon?
Well, absolutely. And this, if you think about it, and this is what we need to see, because theoretically they've got the power to make hundreds of thousands of smaller companies be able to compete on an even playing field. And if you remember, Amazon, about half of Amazon is really Amazon, and the rest, Amazon's
marketplace,
most of whom I would imagine are actually small and medium-sized companies. Let's see.
Just one other thing.
Yeah.
I know we're running short on time, but I guess the idea also of the checkout, the only thing we haven't really talked about is we've talked about product selection and delivery. There's the checkout that sits in the middle of that as well. I mean, if Google can make that easy for all kinds of retailers and it becomes a Google-centric experience, as you were saying before, rather than a retailer or carrier-centric process, it does become different. Anyway, there you go, everybody. I've covered my bases, so I don't have to come pie in 5 years' time.
I'll just say 2 words, Google Pay. And you can think about that for the next one.
Thanks for watching this video on YouTube. Remember to click, I think it goes this way, everybody, like, subscribe, and the notifications bell. Something like that. Anyway, please do. It helps keep these videos free, and you'll get a notification every time we publish one of these intriguing videos where Marek is bullish about something and I'm carrying on like a wet blanket about whether it's going to succeed or not. So like, subscribe, hit the notifications bell. That'll be great. Thanks. Marek Różycki, thanks for being part of the Last Mile Profits today.
Thank you, Ian. Thank you, everyone.